Being a chartered manager means that you are a specialist in that area, and it means you've got all the skills to do the job to the best of its ability.
You are seen as a leader, a true leader who has credentials behind the great work you've already been doing.
It's enhanced my understanding, it's enhanced my skill set, it's improved my mindset.
It makes all the difference.
This session is recorded and will be available on the CMI website and YouTube channel. Join the conversation by using the live chat box for your questions and comments. We'll answer as many as we can during the Q&A.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Elevate Your Career, the Chartered Manager Advantage digital event. My name is Mary Bolawale, and I am an event delivery coordinator at CMI. Don't forget to join the conversation by using the live chat box. Feel free to ask any questions you have for the speakers, and we'll answer as many as possible during the Q&A session. I will now hand it over to Renee Raper, the chair of the CMI Scotland Regional Board, and Caroline Wylie, the Chief Operating Officer of the Challenges Group, to begin today's event.
Thanks, Mary, and welcome everyone. It's great. We've got a fantastic event lined up for you with two great speakers, and we're going to hopefully demystify and motivate you to become a chartered manager. So I'm Renee, I'm chair of the CMI Scotland Board, and Caroline, she's our events lead, as well as running her job with the Challenges Group.
Thanks, Renee. So I'm going to take you through a short introduction to CMI. I'm going to cover what the advantage of being a chartered manager is, the routes to becoming a chartered manager, and why become a chartered manager. In terms of the chartered manager advantage, there are three things: recognition, credibility, and impact. In terms of the recognition of the chartered manager status, it's an internationally recognized accreditation and shows that you have a gold standard of excellence in management and leadership. It's also, through the Chartered Management Institute, the only qualification in the world that shows you are chartered in management. In terms of its credibility, the Chartered Management Institute has been running for 75 years and is a benchmark in excellence for management and leadership. The impact of being a chartered manager is not only on you as an individual and your performance, but also your organization's success, as we'll cover a bit later in this presentation. The Chartered Management Institute has 4 key professional standards that underpin the Chartered Manager Award. They cover organizational performance, which includes achieving results, managing resources and risk, and leading change and innovation. Personal effectiveness, so managing yourself, how you make decisions, and how you communicate and influence others. It also covers interpersonal excellence, so building relationships and networks, developing people and capabilities, and providing purpose and direction. And in addition to that, in the middle there, being an ethical and inclusive leader, which includes things like leading with integrity, championing inclusivity, looking after your team's well-being, promoting the environmental sustainability as well. So in terms of becoming a chartered manager, there are 2 key routes you can take. There's the full assessment route, and to be eligible for that, you need to have a degree level qualification in management leadership, plus 3 years experience, or 5 years of management experience, and a non-specific degree or qualification. For the fast track route, you need to have a CMI diploma or extended diploma in management leadership at level 5 or above, and 3 years management experience, or a CMI certificate, diploma or extended diploma in strategic management and leadership at level 7 and above, and 3 years experience. And we'll hear from Anna and Ross a bit later about the different routes they've taken to become chartered. So in terms of the application process, there are several things you have to do. For the full route, you need to have a sponsorship letter, and then complete a written assessment that covers your role as an ethical and inclusive leader. You need to showcase your success in terms of leading change and innovation, managing others, and achieving results, and give examples for these items. In addition to that, you need to show why you're an inspirational leader, the reflective practice that you take, and your commitment to continued professional development, role modeling good practice. But the assessment that you take for this is quite straightforward. It leads you through that and prompts you for the examples and sections you need to complete. So it really isn't something to be too concerned about. For the fast track route, it's a little bit shorter. You won't need a sponsorship letter, but you need to talk about your eligibility. You'll cover why you're an ethical and inclusive leader, the impact of achieving CMI qualification, impact for yourself, impact on your team and for your organisation, and then a section on your commitment to personal and professional development in the future. So there are the assessment route you'll take will cover, your first inquiry to CMI to see about your eligibility. There will be then the submission of your written application. If you're taking the full assessment route, you'll have a professional discussion with a chartered manager assessor, which really is quite an informal discussion. And mine was actually with Renee, who I'm sharing this, hosting the presentation today. Then the award process takes place. So why become a chartered manager? Well, the Chartered Management Institute undertook a survey of chartered managers in 2024, and they uncovered a number of different statistics. So firstly, in terms of the impact it can have on your pay and promotion, obviously a key thing that we're all interested in. The survey found that 19 managers stated that they'd received a pay increase. So 19% of managers said they'd received a pay increase. And that pay rise was either between £1,000 to over £30,000, while the majority of people, 58%, said they'd received between £2,500 and £12,500. Also, they found that through the survey that 1 in 6 managers had received a promotion as a result of becoming chartered. So in terms of the impact of chartered on the individual, so in the manager who becomes chartered, 91% said they felt they were overall a better manager. The same proportion said they'd improved their management and leadership skills. And as you can see, some other really key factors in terms of self-awareness, managing change, and being an inclusive manager. There were also some key findings of that survey in terms of individuals' impact on their teams. So they generally found that over 61% found they'd increased their staff engagement, improved the motivation of their teams in 55% of respondents, and improved staff productivity. So some quite important factors there. And in terms of the overall results for the businesses the chartered managers worked in, 75% believed that they were getting better results using their management skills, leading people and managing change. And 66% felt they were delivering improvements. So either through savings or performance improvements with the new ways that they were working. And 40% said they were creating new products, services, or market development. So innovations, which obviously are, fast-paced these days in the modern world. And to wrap it up, 96% agree that the Chartered Manager Award demonstrates that they meet the high-quality management leadership skills necessary to be a highly effective manager. Thank you. So that was a brief introduction, and we're now going to hear from Renee and Anna about her experience of becoming a chartered manager.
I know. Can I just actually thank Caroline for that introduction? Very good. And yeah, she did. Caroline did achieve her chartered manager last year, and I was very pleased to be part of it and help support her. But just thinking about some of the statistics that she was saying, the fact that, so how many times maybe do we think we have imposter syndrome? I can't do that. I shouldn't be here. If you embark on undertaking the chartered manager, you then have the confidence to say, I can do this. I am good at what I do. Anyway, it's not for me to say when we have Anna here who can actually give us some advice and some observations as she worked through her chartered manager. So welcome, Anna, who is Head of Business Systems and Office Manager at SD Wind Energy.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So nice to see you. Thank you for being here. And so let's just start off with, why? What motivated you to be a chartered manager?
Yeah, well, I think for me, my background was in project controls for an engineering organisation before then moving into small wind. So for me, I had a lot of, I suppose, competing requirements for, achieving project delivery results, leading the team, and then also kind of strategic discussions, etc. in the business. So for me, I was looking for a way to formalise that practical experience and also the business responsibility alongside my academic learning. And becoming a chartered manager just seemed like the perfect blend of, implementing all of that. So that was really one of the key motivations for me to becoming a chartered manager. But I suppose as well, it's a really good way to benchmark yourself as a professional manager, to demonstrate, credibility in your field, particularly for myself in, a niche sector. That goes a long way to demonstrate that I can manage people, processes, but also innovation and change as well, which is really key, particularly in, a fast-paced sector like the renewables industry, where technology is constantly evolving, and being able to manage change and innovation is such a key part of my role as a manager.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very, very interesting, Anna. Thank you. Yeah, I mean the credibility to, as you say, people, processes, and innovation. Great. So what route did you take, Anna?
Yeah. So for me, it's maybe a bit of an unusual one, I suppose. I did a graduate apprenticeship in business management at Strathclyde University, which was, a fantastic degree in itself, and had that blended academic learning and practical experience on the job training. And at the end of that kind of honours year, I was given the opportunity to then apply for a chartered manager status via the fast track route. So it was great because the course was already CMI accredited, so I had the accreditation there and also the managerial experience through continuing to work while studying. So it was, an extremely efficient and quite a rewarding pathway to do. And to be honest, it was quick. It was relatively painless, and I think the benefits that I got from that was really, really great as well. So very pleased that I decided to do that.
Great, thank you. So the process you've just said was fairly quick and painless then.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, no, it was. It was great. It was very valuable. I think that, and probably lots of managers can relate to this, is that you get so into the nitty-gritty day-to-day running of, making sure that business objectives are met, business outcomes, supporting your team and making sure that everyone feels supported and developed. But it's really important that we also take that moment to kind of step back and think about ourselves and go, okay, let's reflect on what impact I'm making, where am I at with regards to my managerial practice, what can I improve on, where do I need to develop? So having that structured approach to kind of come away from things and reflect, for me, was really positive. And I think I'm from the west coast of Scotland, and I think sometimes we tend to be quite negative. So having that moment to actually reflect and think positively about the impact that I've made on my team, my organisation, it was really empowering and really a valuable process for sure.
So Anna, obviously you were started out doing a very academic course, but presumably this was very much your evidence reflecting in your day-to-day and in the workplace, was it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because I think part of doing academic study is reflecting on what you've learned, and that's great, but I don't think that we necessarily always reflect on what we're doing and what's the impact on, myself, my team, how was my decision making, but then also how did I communicate that? Could I have done that better? So these very practical aspects are what makes you a great manager. So being able to reflect on that was really, really important.
Great, thank you very much. So, you've spoken about impact, the impact you had on your team and yourself. Could you give us a little bit more detail about how you measured your impact or what evidence?
Yeah, so I suppose professionally, I'm definitely a lot more confident now, a lot more able to articulate the impact that I've made, and that comes from that reflective practice of looking at, well, how did I manage that? Was that necessarily the best way to do that? Maybe not. And then engaging with resources, etc., to improve that in the future. So it means that now if I go into conversations with, across business units, I'm much more able to effectively communicate with them and then also influence decisions as well. And I think that has been a key thing that's come out of applying for the Chartered Manager status and developing in my role that way. But I think as well, it's definitely, I'm much more strategic in how I think now and how I implement various decisions across my team and also influence strategy in the business. And that's definitely something that I'd never really appreciated until I started to reflect on the decisions I've made and what the impact was, if that makes sense. So definitely there's been a shift there for me. And I think personally, it's just been very empowering. Like I said, I'm able to now articulate my value. And if I'm going into conversations, for example, at remuneration reviews, I'm able to say, well, this is my worth. And I think that's a really powerful tool to have in your arsenal. And it's something that I wouldn't have had or wouldn't have developed as much had I not went through the becoming a chartered manager.
So were you, when you were doing your degree, were you working all the time, Anna? Was your company supporting you?
Yeah. So it was full-time work, full-time study. So it was it was a lot. It was like 4 years of no social life. But very much.
We're supposed to be encouraging people here.
It's great. Social life's overrated. No, it was. I have to say, I absolutely loved the programme. The university were great. The CMI were great as well, and the resources we had access to really helped actually in the kind of academic study as well as the practical approach. But I think it was such a beneficial way of learning, because I think a lot of time I'd been to university prior as well in a kind of traditional university and class setting, and for me, I didn't take a lot away from it. I got a qualification, but I've not done anything with it. Whereas in this instance, it was really ingrained into what I was doing every day, and I think that for me, it's been so beneficial. Yeah, I'd recommend anyone looking into a graduate apprenticeship, because it's a really good way to learn, in my opinion.
Great. Okay, thank you. So, you're taking the next question out of my mouth here, Anna. So advice to somebody thinking about doing the Chartered Manager or working towards it. Could you give some pieces of advice for them?
Yeah, totally. I suppose I could say lots of things, because when you go through the process, particularly under a kind of fast track route, it can be quite intense. I mean, very painless, but there is that level of intensity, I suppose. But for me, biggest bit of advice is, it's kind of like what you'd said earlier about imposter syndrome, and it's about don't hold off doing something because you don't think you're ready. And it's what is ready. There is no such thing as a perfect manager. We're not striving for perfection here. It's about, if you are, managing projects or teams or business outcomes, then you've probably got more experience than what you think you have. You may not be aware of how much experience you have. So it's better to just get involved and to see where it takes you, because it's about growth at the end of the day, and becoming a better, more polished version of yourself in a professional context and becoming a better manager. So yeah, don't hold off because you don't feel ready. There's no such thing. Just get stuck in and see where it takes you. That's my advice.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Anna. Yeah, I mean, that's great advice, rather than, oh, should I or shouldn't I? Just get stuck in and try it. And as you said, management is not black and white. It's, many shades of grey. So there's having the different skills and experience to approach things. So thanks very much for an insight into your fast track, and I'll catch up with you in the Q&A a bit later on in the session, Anna.
No worries. Thanks, Renee.
So that's a great insight. Thanks very much from Anna. So now I want to introduce you to Ross, if he's there, please. Ross MacDonald, who's Security Governance for the UK Civil Service. And he's going to give us a taster and some insight into the route that he took to become Chartered Manager. So welcome, Ross. Thank you very much for giving us your time today and sharing your insight. So if we could just start off, I know you have an interesting story. So what motivated you to do the Chartered Manager?
So what motivated me was I'm qualified in different areas, be that safety or security. And at the time, I was the head of explosives safety for sites for the Ministry of Defence, where explosives are stored. And attending another organisation's meeting, I realised that my technical qualifications were the exact same as some of the junior members of my team. And I have to say, it kind of perturbed me a wee bit. I thought, I'm not a junior member of the team, I'm the boss. This is probably the only time you'll hear me use the phrase, I'm the boss, just to prove a point. And I considered, do I require to increase my technical skills? Do I require to increase my technical knowledge and ability on explosives and explosives management? No, I've got a team of specialists who do that. What area am I specialist in? And the light bulb moment was that I'm not necessarily an explosives specialist. I'm not necessarily a security specialist. I'm a specialist in management, in leadership, in supporting others, in helping them perform and bring their best self to work. And perhaps that is the area in which I ought to concentrate my efforts, qualifications, recognition. So a bit of a light bulb moment when I took a huff.
Took a huff. Okay, so what happened then, basically? What did you decide? How did you go about it?
From there, I was lucky enough to, so as we see in the chat, Sunny, and the chat also has a level 7 qualification in strategic management and leadership. I went on a course with the Ministry of Defence, relatively short course with the Ministry of Defence, but at the time I found out that it was actually aligned, the Defence Academy had aligned this qualification to those required of the CMI, the Chartered Management Institute. And by completing the qualification and going on to continue to record, develop, work on my own personal development, I was able to apply to become a member of the CMI. And again, member of the CMI helps solidify understanding. You get access to fantastic resources in the background of the website, And the more I went into these resources, the more I started to use them. The more I started to use them, the more my work started to depend on them. And these resources eventually became integral to everything that I produced at work or for work. Seeing as I was using these resources so much, I thought, well, why not use it for my own benefit and look at the route to chartered. And the professionalism that came out through the use of the CMI resources led to me progressing in government. I now work in central government, Westminster based, and my own, as was mentioned earlier on, my own professional development journey took a bit of a back seat until I realised that it was actually the CMI that had helped me succeed. So let's recognise that, and I inquired about how to become chartered. I simply contacted. There's plenty of resource on the CMI's website, but impatient as I am, I decided I would phone up and say, right, take me by the hand. How do I do this? And somebody explained to me that if I had a level 7 qualification within a set amount of time, then I could go down the fast track route. Well, that was me. I was upset. I was annoyed because I believed that I had done my qualification longer ago than I actually had. So spat the dummy and thought, why would I want to do this anyway? And I phoned again and said, there must be another way. And the person at the other end of the phone said to me in really nice language, you have a level 7 qualification, you are eligible. But I was, oh, fantastic. And so that took some of the worry away for me. And I simply followed again the fast track route to go through there and demonstrate my personal and ongoing commitment to task, team, individual, and see where we went with CMI. Very nervous about whether or not I would be accepted, because I don't always use the most formal language, and perhaps chartered managers require to use the exact key phrase and the buzzwords, and it turns out that they don't. All that we're looking for is authenticity, writing down that we can, or demonstrating that we do what we ought to do as a reliable manager. Just paused while Renee's typing there.
Sorry, just wanted to keep a few notes here that you're telling me. So how did you find the process then, when you actually embarked on it?
The process, I'll be very honest, I found it quite nerve-wracking. Mm-hmm. And the reason I found it nerve-wracking is, people band about the phrase imposter syndrome, which is great. Some people have this imposter syndrome. They believe that they're not good enough. But what if I'm actually not good enough? And by submitting this, this would be an admission of guilt. No, Ross, you're rubbish. And so I was quite concerned over getting the language professional, yet still authentic, still genuine. And it turned out to be far less onerous than I expected, because I said what I did, I said how I did it, and I said it with a genuine authenticity and passion, which is how I tend to trade at work, with authenticity and passion. And it turned out that the CMI values, somebody managed to see through the noise of what I'd written and recognise many of the values in what I had presented. And I became a chartered manager. And so, yeah, I was over the moon at when it happened. I almost didn't believe it. I thought, well, is it really as straightforward? I realised that I was worrying about it far too much.
And so you found the process simpler than what you were fearing it could be.
Yes, so as I said at the very start of it, I threw my toys out the pram because I thought this, I've already done a qualification. Why are they making me go through this? But I just hadn't understood what I had been told, because I was looking personally to make it far more difficult. I didn't need it. The path is all set out for me.
Great. Okay. And as you were saying, I mean, we're getting a few questions in that, the CMI team on Chartered Manager are there to actually help you. So, help you understand, yes, this is the track you could do. This is what you need to do. This is how you need to apply. So they're all the experts there at setting you on your route. So can we turn to impact then, Ross? What impact do you think, or have you seen for yourself personally and with the people that you work with?
Well, I'll start off selfishly. I spend 90% of my working day talking about my team and their achievements. I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about me. The impact on me personally, when I became chartered, I put it all over LinkedIn. I don't use LinkedIn, but I thought, everyone tells a great story on LinkedIn. I'll pop it on LinkedIn, see if I can use that. And at the time, I said that achieving chartered status, I've got various qualifications and projects that you can see behind me. But at the time, achieving chartered status was my proudest professional achievement, because it's a demonstration that, as I said a moment ago, the passion, the commitment, that I put into everything that I do at work has been recognised. And it's not just a quick win qualification. It's not just a snapshot in time. We're looking for development through an extended period of time. So at the time, that was my proudest achievement. If we fast forward just a couple of months later, I had a stroke. And so this was September of last year, I had a stroke and I was out of the running. I was out of the game. It took kind of 4 hours to write a 3-line email, and I was exhausted after it. I was sitting in my living room, not much use to anyone, and could easily have gone quite badly for me. But I decided once again to set myself an objective, and that was to see if I could possibly remind myself of my self-worth, or what I think it is, and attempt to become a chartered fellow. And I, over the next few weeks, submitted an application to become a chartered fellow, and I'm exceptionally proud that the first time I was able to leave the house by myself post-stroke was to attend an event in Glasgow with yourself, Renee, where I was presented with a certificate for having become a chartered fellow. So for me, the impact of it was deeply personal, providing me something to look forward to, providing meaning. For my team, the impact, I'm very pleased to see that the impact of this, my team are, to an individual, unsurprised. Of course, you become a chartered fellow, Ross, because everything you do lives and breathes the very principles that the CMI look to encourage as well. And very nicely, what it's done, especially the last part of the chartered fellow journey. What I've seen within my team is it's encouraged a couple of people who just need that little pull of confidence to push themselves just a little bit, because we maybe don't all need to fit the exact mold, but if our aims and values match, then perhaps we might align. And it's lovely to see some of my team pushing themselves that little bit harder, because there's something that perhaps I've done that shows that, support the Mavericks. It doesn't always need to be our exact image of a stuffy manager. Those days are hopefully gone or going.
Well, that's good to know that you're acting as a role model, Ross, and obviously, helping members of your team, achieve so that they can move on their career paths. So could I ask you about You know, what advice would you give to somebody thinking about doing a chartered manager? What bit of advice would you want to pass on?
So for a long time, I have sat and considered memberships in various membership organisations, and I only looked at it in pounds, shillings and pence. How much is it going to cost me to join this membership organisation over the course of a year? Can I afford it, first off? And secondly, am I going to get any value from it? It's only now that I'm able to look back and reflect on all the different CPD articles that I've used, downloaded. It's only now that I'm able to reflect on having been to some of the CMI in-person meetings. It's only now that I'm able to fully stitch together each of the benefits that I have found to realise the impact that the CMI has had. And excuse me while I get all soppy, but it's not just had an impact on me, it's had an impact on my team, it's had an impact on my professional life, and it's had an impact on my family as well, because they've seen me buzzing about my professional accreditations and my link with the CMI, which is something I believe I'm rightly proud of. So for me, the journey, if I knew at the beginning of the journey what I know now about the journey, I would have done it much earlier. The joys of hindsight, yeah, it's never around when you need it.
Mm-hmm. Great. So yeah, get on and get started then. Get on the path then. Thank you. Thanks very much, Ross, for that. So you went down the route and you didn't have a professional discussion, did you?
Correct.
Right.
I didn't have, and again, at the time, I didn't realise that it was such a short time between gaining my qualification and applying for chartership. And that's one of the reasons that I was anxious, was because I presumed that a professional discussion in front of a professional person, such as, for example, Renee, they're going to see me as nothing more than a blithering idiot who is trying to do nice things for people. So I was quite anxious about that. Even that was taken away by the application process. Now, being on the other side of it, if anyone would care to have a professional discussion about management, ethics and values, bring it on. I've got the skills, knowledge, attitude, and I've also had the impact of the various countless CPD articles from the CMI that have helped me get to here.
Great. Thank you very much, Ross. So we'll see you shortly in the Q&A session, but I'm hoping actually I could just bring Caroline back to have a chat with us if she's still here. Because as Caroline mentioned earlier, that she did the full route and she had the professional discussion with me, fortunately or unfortunately.
That's right, Renee. Yes.
So we've got a question here just rushing in. I know it's not quite the Q&A, but about Brad wanting to know what happens at the professional discussion. So can you think back to that and just give us a few ideas of how you found it?
Yes, so it was actually quite an enjoyable experience, I have to be honest. We discussed, and maybe Renee, you can correct me because obviously you know the full process, but we talked through my application and dug a bit deeper into the examples I'd given, for example, under managing change. And I would say at this stage, actually, when people are completing their applications, it's really important to think carefully about what you put in under the specific examples. So I have to say, when I completed my application, I did think quite carefully about what examples I'm going to use for each section. And I actually changed things a bit. It took me, maybe a couple of weeks to complete the assessment, and just making sure that I had a really robust example for each of the sections. So it was an opportunity to, as I say, to dig a bit deeper, to explore those examples, and maybe talk a little bit about my career and the things I've done. And I think there were some sort of questions that you had in addition to some of the examples I'd given that you wanted to explore as well a bit further. I remember I used we quite a lot as an example, as examples, and you were saying, well, did you do that, or was it a we? And I was sort of trying to explain that it was me and my team. Yeah, that was some learning for me going forward.
Great, thanks very much, Caroline. So yeah, the professional excuse me, I don't know what need some more water here. The professional discussion was, as it says, it's a discussion. So I, as the assessor, went through and had a look at Caroline's application, and there were places that I wanted to dig a little deeper to ask her about, and so it wasn't a case of like an oral examination or anything like that, which, well, I hope she didn't think it was, but it was very much, as Anna had said, about a chance to reflect and chat through some of your experiences. Would you have done it differently? And yes, I think possibly in Scotland it's a trait. We talk about we all the time, and it's trying to get down to, well, what did you actually do in this situation? So it's not that there are mandated prescribed questions that you have to learn the answers to or anything like that. It's generally just talking more deeper about the experiences and the examples that you've put in your application form. So I hope, Brad, that helps you and dispels the myth for anybody else who wants to go down the full assessment route. Thank you. So I think I'd like to move on to the Q&A now, please. If we could bring back Anna and Ross to the stage. Thank you very much. So I'd like to start off with, I could. I'm getting a bit of feedback here. I hope it's okay. With a question from Rachel. I'm struggling with career direction. I can see the benefit of doing my CMI in the long run. Do you have any advice on professional development that could be applicable? So we've been talking about that. Anything that you would like to add, or any advice that we can give to Rachel? Do I have a starter? Somebody who would like to start me off?
Yeah, I can start. If
yes, please, Anna.
I think a lot of the CMI qualifications or becoming a chartered manager, a lot of what you evidence and what you learn through that process is widely transferable to lots of different sectors. Like for myself, I worked in engineering and project controls, project management, then moved into more kind of data and systems based, but still there's the kind of the static requirements of people skills, leadership, communication, I suppose project management, change management. These are all kind of key skills that are going to be applicable across a variety of sectors, variety of roles. So I think that engaging with that and developing those skills will definitely be transferable across whatever you go on to do in your career.
Great. Thanks, Anna. Ross, do you want to add?
I completely agree with that. As I mentioned earlier on, being cross-qualified in safety and security, I kind of felt, where should I focus my efforts? And then, as I said, the light bulb moment that professional development for me is about managing performance, managing the team's effectiveness, interpersonal excellence. We heard Caroline talking about earlier on, being an ethical and inclusive leader. are all things that just absolutely resonated with me. And the light bulb moment was, I may be skilled in certain areas, but my genuine passion is people and looking after people, supporting people. So for me, that professional development helped, because I was also struggling with career direction. I went from safety of mass explosives to managing security governance. The two don't necessarily gel, but what is the same is that I am supporting people and looking after people. We are performing to a professional standard, and that professional level of performance I found through the support and the work that I've undertaken with the CMI. Over.
Thanks. Caroline, do you want to add anything? I know you've recently changed jobs at Challenges.
Yeah, so I was finance director here at Challenges before, and I did want to move more into a general role, take on some additional project management, and manage a wider team. And this was really the platform for me to be able to do that and develop my skills in a wider sense. Also, I think I work particularly, I mean, we all work in fast changing organizations and fast changing world. And so, you know, one of the key factors of this, these assessments is the change management aspect. And that's obviously key to all of our jobs. And, you know, there's a large element of this qualification is about that managing change, doing that with confidence, doing it effectively, and supporting your team through that. So that was really important for me as well. And I think those skills are very transferable, because I can see Anna and Ross nodding their heads as well.
Yes, thanks very much to all three of you. Yes, I mean, you know, and I found them very important as transferable skills. Yeah, just a term that I came on a few years ago was this idea of a tea professional. So, you know, very much we're trained on the technical skills and we go very deep into those, but what we actually need are the wider cross skills, the people skills, the interpersonal skills, very much what, you know, Chartered Manager is about, exploring that area. So, sorry, I'm jumping in here on the panel, but just to mention that. So if we can turn to a question here from Paul, actually. How can you get your senior management team to recognise the importance of chartered management status? As I completed the level 5 diploma, gained chartered status, and they don't recognise this. Oh dear. Any thoughts here that we could suggest for Paul and other people in his situation?
Absolutely. Give them no choice. Hold them over a barrel. Make it evident in every single interaction that you have that you are not one of the 82% of accidental managers. You know your craft, you understand your craft, you work on your craft. Use the resources that are available to you as a member of the CMI. Make them pervasive, make them bleed through every document, every return, every conversation that you have. Demonstrate that you're not just another person who got the job because you happen to fall into the job. You care about being a manager, being a leader, and that includes your own professional development, and that will soon, I believe, hold you above your peers without too much difficulty. Over.
Thank you, Ross. Very passionate response there. Anybody want to add to that?
Well, I think the statistics that I presented at the end of the presentation also back up what Ross said. You know, the accidental manager position is one that we, you know, I think all of us anyway believe that these skills that we've gained through becoming chartered managers have helped us develop our own personal skills, our interpersonal skills, our team management skills, and supporting the business to be more successful and develop improvements through either savings or innovation. And through that process, we're able to reflect and learn from that reflection. So I think there's a huge amount that you are able to bring to the table, and shout about it, like Ross was saying.
Totally agree with both of you, and I think what you'd said, Ross, about using the resources and making them front and centre of absolutely everything is a really good point as well, because there's loads there, and they're outstanding. So being able to bring that into your management practice and to demonstrate what you have access to and what you're able to do is a really, really important thing. You should absolutely shout about it, like Caroline said.
Great.
I remember one day a previous manager of mine trying to tell me, Ross, son, 40 odd years old, but still getting called son. Ross, son, this is what you need to do. And they had lifted almost word for word the exact CPD resource that I was just about to quote them from the CMI's back catalogue. And it did make me chuckle, because this person that I was almost fearful of, their professionalism and their acumen, how did they know this all? Were just doing the same as me and looking for the best information from the best place possible, and to come across as a genuine professional. And for them it worked, so why can't it work for me? Well, fast forward a wee while, it does.
All right, thank you very much, Ross. And Paul, I hope, well done on getting your level 5 diploma and chartered status. That's a great achievement, and shout about it. That's right. Thank you. I'd like to look at a question from Kodu. Sorry, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly here, who has asked about how does becoming a chartered manager benefit a director or owner of a business? So I think maybe, Ross, you have some experience here.
Yes, I've certainly been a director, owner of a business before, and I'm, again, the benefit of 2020 hindsight, I'm now able to look back on previous ventures and the organisation of presenting proposals, and just realising how wrong I had it. That what I thought was an example of professionalism being the shiniest in any conversation was actually not quite accurate. People don't always look for the shiniest object to be attracted to. They often look for that genuine depth that is pervasive through everything that you do. And so for me, from owning my own business, and now being a chartered manager, a chartered fellow, I'm able to see the benefit that it doesn't just provide a shiny velour, a shiny outside to the outside world, but being a chartered manager actually gives you the knowledge and the depth of knowledge that starts from the moment you wake up in the morning till the time you go to bed. It bleeds through every single action that you do as a director.
Right. Thank you. If I could jump in here as well, as I'm a director of my own micro organisation, and so if I'm going to put a proposal in, or I'm doing some tenders, it's quality systems. What quality have you got? I don't have ISO 9000 or whatever. So my quality is my chartered manager, is my chartered fellowship. And this is what I put in, and this is what I put in proposals. I work to quality standards, and these are demonstrated by the fact that I have achieved this, and with regular continuing professional development, I'm staying at that peak. And I think it is important, and it's a huge benefit for an owner of a small business to actually demonstrate that they do work at that level and has got the skills and have been recognised. Sorry, so I jumped in there. I don't know, Anna and Caroline, if you wanted to add anything.
Not really. I'm not a director of business, but I am very convinced by what you're both saying, Renee and Ross. So I think, it's really important, especially for those tenders and bids and, giving those credentials when you don't have the sort of wider organisational credentials that bigger places have.
Yeah, for me, it's the difference between cost and value. Way back at the beginning, when I first started my own business, I considered these types of things, and the cost, I'm not doing that. I'm not spending, I think at the time it was £100 odd to become I can't spend that. If I'd only known the value that came alongside it, I would soon change my tune.
Great, thank you. I don't know if we quickly time one here for a very quick answer. A question from Pam saying she's keen to leverage her chartered management status in job applications and interviews. Any advice on how to best showcase it? How do you go about, showcasing your chartered manager?
Well, in my CV, I've got a professional summary, as I'm sure lots of us do, and really I talk about the fact that I'm a chartered manager and then what that means to me, and it's similar to what Ross said earlier. I think you talked about values, authenticity, trust, reliability. There's been a lot of talk about quality, and that's the type of thing that I bring out in that kind of first introduction about who I am, what I do, but it's all about that values-based approach, because I think it's really important when you're thinking about ethical leadership, sustainability, and longevity as well. For an organisation that's hiring you, these are the kind of core, I suppose, values that are really important to organisations. So for me, I bring that up as the first thing that an organisation would read about me. And saying I've not updated my CV in a number of years, but at my last job interview, that seemed to be successful. So
great, thank you, thanks. Anna, Caroline, Ross, do you want to add anything quickly to that?
Well, I suppose, the Chartered Management Institute speaks for itself as a chartered organisation with 75 years of history. I think it's, that is such a fundamental thing to have on your CV as a manager, with your, showcases your experience simply by itself, hopefully. So, maybe Ross, you've got something to add to that.
Not overly. For me, the only thing would be, I'm not actively looking for employment, but the only thing would be make it sticky. Every chance you get on your CV, make sure that being a chartered manager is stuck to that outcome, that objective. As a chartered manager, I'm able to do this because of my CPD. I've developed the skill in that. So make it leap off the page, so that people can understand that you're not just another manager, you're somebody who takes a commitment seriously.
Great. Well, thank you very much. So not just another manager, you're a chartered manager. We better not get by Marks and Spencer's having it's not just any manager. Right, any. So thank you very much for your thoughts, advice, Anna, Ross and Caroline. And I'll hand over to Caroline to round up on the event.
Thanks very much, Renee, and thank you so much for hosting today's event. I just wanted to round up by asking Anna and Ross, what are your top takeaways about becoming a chartered manager? Anna?
Well, it's funny, and I was talking earlier about, the importance of reflection, and actually hearing some of Ross's insights has got my brain working. And it's the thing that you'd said about values and authenticity, and it's something that I probably don't speak about enough. Because it's one of the kind of core, elements of being a chartered manager, is being able to demonstrate, trust, reliability, authenticity. So it's something that I'll definitely be bringing out more in how I communicate with people, and I will be doing some reflection on that. And yeah, it's just been a great process, becoming chartered, and yeah, just highly recommend that. That's all from me.
Thanks, Anna. And Ross?
For me, my one take, if I had to choose one single takeaway from today, I suppose it's that we improve our professionalism by working on it. It doesn't just happen by accident. So even events like today have got me thinking about selfishly the way that I present myself compared to the way that other people on the call have presented themselves. Some of the questions that have come in have reassured me that I've got the same worries as the people asking questions here. I'm not alone. And that realization that even at what many people consider a very elevated position of being a chartered manager, there are very few people who would ever claim to have all the answers. And it's nice to see that encouragement all round. And the more we embrace events such as this, the more we start to embed belief in ourselves and those common values.
Thanks very much. Thank you, both of you.
So that's it for today's session. Thank you to our hosts, Renee and Caroline, and to our speakers, Ross and Anna, for your insight and expertise. Please stay tuned to hear more about CMI membership, and thank you for joining us.
Don't forget, as a CMI member, you can find the latest management and leadership insights at managers.org.uk. If you're not yet a member, join our community to discover CMI confidence with on-demand resources, our network of mentors, and industry-leading accreditations.